notice we have the conclusion of the third angel's message. Do you know the conclusion of the third angel's message brings to view the remnant of Jesus Christ? Notice the characteristics of the remnant. Revelation 14 verse 12 speaks about those who have what? The patience of the saints. Why are we going to need patience? Folks, we studied a whole lecture on the patience of the saints. God's people are going to go through the tribulation. It's going to be the worst period in human history. Even the most fertile imagination cannot imagine what the tribulation is going to be like. It's going to be like the time when the 3 young men were thrown into the fiery furnace. Well, let me make it clear. God's people will not suffer the wrath of God. They will live on the earth when God is pouring out His wrath, but they will be shielded by divine power, just like the 3 young men were shielded by divine power. But they will have to be on earth, and their faith will be severely tested, but they will stand. They will have the perseverance, which is a better translation. They will have the perseverance of the saints. They will hang on, and they will not give up. God's remnant will have the patience of the saints. But then the last part of the third angel's message also says that they keep the commandments of God. And we studied a whole lecture on the commandments of God. And we noticed that the expression, keeping the commandments of God, refers to the 10 commandments. In other words, God's people are going to keep the 10 commandments. So much for the people who say that the 10 commandments were nailed to the cross. Or that Jesus was the one who kept the commandments, so we don't have to keep them. Or that we don't have to keep the commandments because we're not under law, but we're under grace. That we don't have to keep the commandments, that's just the letter, but we live by the Spirit. You're making a liar out of God. Because God says that He will have a remnant that have the patience of the saints and keep the commandments of God. It is possible to keep God's commandments according to Revelation 14 and verse 12. And then another characteristic is given of the remnant. It says that they have the faith of Jesus, which when we studied, we noticed that it is faith in Jesus. That's the correct translation, faith in Jesus. You see, if you had only that they keep the commandments of God, you might reach the conclusion that this is legalism. But you see, you can't keep the commandments of God unless you have faith in Jesus. We dealt about this issue of faith and works. Keeping the commandments of God would be the works. But you can't keep the commandments of God unless you have faith in Jesus. In other words, faith in Jesus is what empowers you to keep God's holy commandments. And so God will have a people that have the patience of the saints. A people who keep the commandments of God, but they don't keep them legalistically like the Pharisees. They keep the commandments of God because they have faith in Jesus. And then there's another characteristic which is not found in the third angel's message, but it is found in Revelation 12:17, which is a parallel verse, and it's also found in Revelation 19 verse 10. The remnant of God also have the testimony of Jesus Christ. And we notice that the testimony of Jesus Christ is the gift of prophecy. In other words, God's remnant people will have a prophetic voice in their midst, not to add to the Bible, but a prophet that will enlighten, amplify, explain, correct those who go astray from Bible truth. The remnant will have the testimony of Jesus, which is the spirit of prophecy.